Hey guys, PZA Total War here, and today we're going to cover the early game guide for Ramesses III in Total War Pharaoh Dynasty to make your early campaign easier and smoother so you can build up the foundation to the great Egyptian empire led by Ramesses. The number one mistake that makes the early game campaign for Ramesses super tough is not being aggressive enough, because from turn 1 AI is going to pump out armies and they are always going to out recruit you, and your best tactic to counter that is being on the offensive at all times from turn 1. You're going to deny AI of all those extra forces. Capturing their settlements is going to boost up the production of your resources, which is in turn going to make you stronger and give you the edge you need to overcome the AI in the earlier turns. So first thing first, you would want to interact with the Egyptian base station right by Ramesses to get that extra 30% movement on land. After doing that, you would want to fight this first battle manually, since the auto resolve is not that favorable and you would take medium casualties. So for optimal result, fight the battle manually. Better conditions matter, and in some situations they can heavily affect the course of the battle. Always try to get the ones that give you the least amount of debuffs. Avoid the sandstorm at all costs in the current weather and the forecast, because it's going to massively debuff you and also damage you at the same time. On the veteran difficulty, in most cases AI is going to attack you first regardless of being the defender or the attacker, so you can always try to go into defensive stances. Hold alt and control your units and put them into this formation so you have the major swordsman in the middle of your front line. Your Shadow Raiders come with amazing stats and also a lot of armor piercing damage and 50% lethality on their javelins, so you would want them to be on the flanks to shoot the enemies at their sides and their backs when they're engaged with your front line. Ramesses comes with 190 range, shoot while moving, and great stats all around, but you should try to keep him at the back at all times because he's your faction leader and you don't have any heirs, so if he falls in the battlefield you're kind of screwed. So start the battle and let them come to you, put them into army group and move into the higher ground. Now put your melee units into the army group and order an attack on the enemies. You should also marker manage your Shadow Raiders and try to shoot the enemies at their backs or flanks. Ramesses and the other archer can start shooting at the enemy archers, since those guys can do a lot of damage and inflict a lot of casualties to your army. Get some good shots with your javelins at the back of your enemies. Same thing on the other side. Chase after enemy units so they don't come back. Stop shooting with Ramesses and the other archer. Take your melee units out of combat with their enemy lord and use your shutdown units to absolutely crush the enemy's general. And as you can see, a really easy victory. You can chase after enemy units for extra resources, but honestly you don't need to. With only 152 casualties, you can either take the replenishment or take the food. I will take the replenishment to be in a better shape for the next battle. If you're lucky, you're gonna get items or ancillaries. In this case, we were super lucky and we gained 2 common spears. For your second objective this turn, you should go and attack Sukkot, capture your third settlement in this province. We have an even worse balance of power for the second battle, so we definitely gotta fight the battle manually. Always try to scout the terrain before you fight the battle, since it could give you valuable insight about the battle map that you could use in your advantage to turn the tide of the battle in your favor. In the veteran battle difficulty, AI is always going to attack you first, and in this case they're defending the settlement but they're going to sally out and come and attack you. You would find the favorable position on the left side of the settlement, deploy the Shadow Raiders on the flank, deploy your missile units in front of your melee units so you can move them up first, and your melee units go on a straight line to go and attack your enemies. Move up the Ramesses and the other archer into this elevation so you have a clear line of sight to shoot your enemies. Move up the Shadow Raiders on the left flank to go and hide in the scrubs, and the other Shadow Raider is going to move up to the right flank. Your melee units can move up a little bit further to go directly behind your archers and get ready to attack the enemy whenever they were getting too close. Your 2 archers should start shooting and shoot at the enemy and damage them as much as they can. Now you can send in your melee units to go and attack melee units and their missile units. Try to dodge some shots from their archers by your Shadow Raiders or anyone else that is getting shot at. Try not to blow up because their archers can actually do a lot of damage. Your archers can either shoot the enemy lord or shoot the enemy archers. Try to use these Shadow Raiders to attack the enemy lord from the side because they have a lot of lethality and we have already killed the enemy lord, so all of them are going to get the morale debuff of the lord dying. Use the Shadow Raiders to shoot into the back of these guys. Try to attack the enemies that are already engaged with your units from the back because they're gonna get massively debuffed and we have already army lost them. You can chase after enemy units, but you absolutely don't need to. Another decisive victory with 124 losses. Every battle we win, we acquire some food and bronze and also experience. Always try to occupy settlements because it gives you 2 idle workforce and the least amount of conquest penalty and provincial instability. Sukkot is a sacred Egyptian land which gives you legitimacy in the Egyptian court. So as soon as you capture Sukkot, you're gonna get to 4 population surplus. So first thing you want to build is a military office to give you extra recruit rank for all of your units and generals. It's gonna take you 1 population surplus in 1 turn. Then you would want to upgrade your bronze building to the 2nd level to give you extra 25 bronze. We need that extra bronze to pay for the upkeep of our elite units, and build a woodcutting yard in Sukkot for that extra 30 wood income, because wood has to be the rarest resource for Ramesses early in his campaign. I would recommend building 1 shrine per every settlement you have throughout your campaign, and they're especially great for Ramesses early on because each one of his shrines of Ra give extra 5 growth, which in early game can be a massive game changer in developing your lands as fast as possible. In your faction capital, build your shrine in this outpost. We should also build up an Egyptian base station in this outpost. Since we're going to be moving through here at a later point into this campaign, we need that extra immunity to attrition because there is no roads and we're going to take heavy attritions from the desert. It is imperative to actually build this Egyptian base station in this specific outpost because we don't want our potential future enemies in Hetch to come raise or sack any of these 2 outposts. And also build the trading post of the outpost in Nakel to increase the production of bronze, which is going to be really valuable early on. So Ramesses should have acquired 2 levels. His special trait begotten by the sun god gives him true presence and 8 ardor, which makes him one of the strongest characters early game. You would want to put 1 point into presence so you can actually unlock the shield of Magi, and then 1 point into fortitude to get extra battle loot and replenishment. For your first assigned title, you can either go with the shield of Magi for extra 8 melee attack and also 2 recruit rank for the Magi units, or go for first among Shardana for extra 2 recruit rank and also Vanguard deployment for your Shardan units. I'm going to give Ramesses the shield of Magi because we're going to get some Magi units, and also we can use the bonuses for next turn. It takes 1 turn to actually equip these titles, so you can use them from next turn. Recruit 1 additional lord. I will try to get this one because he has the highest ardor, and since our 2nd lord has 2 points into ardor, we can easily get to 3 ardor when he levels up and get the first among Shardana on him so he can recruit the Shardan units at a higher tier. This additional lord is going to be extremely useful in the following turns, but bear in mind that every additional lord you get, your administration cost is going to increase by 8 points, and eventually that's going to increase your administration tier, and if you don't plan for it ahead, it can massively increase the food and bronze upkeep for your forces, which can disrupt your economy big times. On Ramesses' army, recruit 2 Magi archers. For your first royal decree, go for the longer festivals, which gives you extra 3 happiness in your faction capital province. Get a non-aggression pact with Bay so you can ensure he's not going to attack you in the near future because his attitude toward you is going to deteriorate over time, and you would want to increase that from the beginning of the campaign so you can keep him friendly. If the diplomatic treaty has positive value, try to get some extra resources out of him, and having the non-aggression pact and the barter agreement is going to increase your relationship with him over time. You can force inheritance to the faction Sek Nocta, and for some reason, if you're using the avatar of the god as skin, you can force inheritance with Ramesses, and that is going to give you 14 diplomatic treaty value, which allows you to get a lot of resources, in this case stones, out of him because he's not interested in it. If you have gotten any extra items from the first 2 battles, equip them on your 2nd lord, and at the first turn I wouldn't recommend doing any traits. Every turn you have to check if there's a good character for Ramesses to marry. If you're not getting any good candidates, you can wait for a single turn because the list of candidates is going to get refreshed every turn, so never feel pressured. Just go for the one that gives you some bonuses because you always have a chance of getting a spouse that has better traits in the following turn or the turn after. We were super lucky and we got a character which has a really high chance of having children, and we're gonna marry them for 50 gold, so we have a higher chance of having children earlier to ensure you're going to have an heir whenever your character dies, so your heirs can continue gaining glory in the name of your dynasty. This guy in Azati never recruits any units, so you can go and attack them with Ramesses and reinforce with your 2nd lord. This battle is easily auto-resolvable, and I would recommend auto-resolving because you get a decisive victory with low casualties. Only 160 casualties, which you can easily recover with Ramesses with some extra food and bronze. Occupy the settlement for the extra 2 idle workforce. We have gotten another sacred Egyptian land under our grasp, and we also gained 2 items. We will equip the armor on our 2nd lord. Ramesses has gained 1 more skill point, and we're gonna put 1 more point into fortitude to increase his replenishment and battle loot. And the 2nd lord has also leveled up, so we're gonna put 1 more point into his ardor for extra movement, and now we can give him first among Shardana and get 2 extra recruit rank for our Shardan raiders. The shield of Magi title has been assigned so we can recruit more Magi units for higher rank. Recruit 1 Magi archer and 1 Magi charger. In my opinion, never recruit Magi swordsmen. Despite their good stats, I don't value them as good units because they barely do any armor piercing damage, at least when we compare them to the Magi chargers, and Magi chargers do 4% more lethality, which is a lot more important in my opinion. And the main rule for the Magi chargers is going to be attacking enemies at their flanks because they are really fast, and have a lot of charge bonus. They also have some javelins to throw at the enemy before they get their charge in. Force march your second army as close as you can to Beersheba, but try to go from the route that doesn't give you any desert attrition. Build an Egyptian base station in this outpost, and that is absolutely essential. And you're going to know why by the start of next turn. Build up another Shrine of Ra in one of the outposts of the newly captured region. Khalaset is one of those factions that could cause a lot of trouble for you early on. They're of the Sea People, which makes them one of the Horde factions, which starts around this region. They're going to defeat their starting enemies Megiddo and Ashkelon very soon by raising their settlements, so there's a good chance you're going to change your focus into your settlements of Azati or Sukkot or any other settlements you might have at that point. So that's why it would be a good idea to build one Egyptian lookout post in this settlement for additional 3 clubman units in the garrison. They might also attack Sukkot, but I wouldn't recommend building the outpost for the time being. You can do it at a later point when you have enough resources. In the first few turns, you have a unique opportunity to acquire a lot of free resources. You might ask, how exactly are we going to achieve this? By offering to join war against the starting enemies of major factions and in return getting some resources out of them, because the chances are the major factions are always going to destroy these minor factions in matter of few turns. And a good example of that is Bay. He starts at war with Hazor, which only has one settlement. We can join war against Hazor because we have a lot of positive diplomatic tree value. We can get a lot of resources early on out of Bay, and he starts not being interested in food and stones, so it allows you to get a lot of these resources out of him early on. Hazor is one of the weakest factions in game, and it's definitely going to get wiped very soon. Always remember that if you're at war with more enemies, the risk of getting attacked by other AI factions is going to massively increase, because in their eyes you're going to look weaker. In order to counter this, you have to get some defensive and military alliances going on, so you're going to look stronger in the eyes of enemy, and they're going to think twice before they declare war at you. In this case, we do have Setnakte as our military ally. Since we're controlling all of the settlements in our starting province, we can set up a commandment. You're definitely activating 40 people because of that extra 10 growth and 2 influence. Repair the buildings in Azati. Upgrade the main building of your provincial capital to the 4th tier, since it requires 4 population surplus. Getting to 4 population surplus is going to get you some time. As soon as their shrines are built and the commandment is activated, you're going to get a lot more growth. So in a turn or two, getting to 2 or even 3 population surplus is only going to take 1 turn, so we can upgrade these buildings a lot more easier than a building that requires 4 population surplus. So definitely go for this one first. There's also another reason why we're upgrading this one first, because we're going to get 1 extra construction slot whenever this is upgraded to tier 4, and that is going to allow us to build up the fig farm for 170 extra food, 1 happiness, and 2 influence. Recruit 1 additional lord in Azati at level 2. I'm going for the youngest one. Start of turn 3 and Hazor is already destroyed. You would want to rush construct this base station for 176 gold. Now that the base station is built, we're not going to take any more attrition moving through these deserts, but we're still going to take attrition moving through this desert in this nearby region. Interact with it with your second lord to get extra 30% movement, and then force march that lord next to Beersheba. At the moment, Ramesses cannot get to Beersheba, but if we interact with this Egyptian base station, we're going to get 50% of our movement refunded and also get 30% extra movement, which is going to allow us to get to Beersheba straight away. Declare war at Beersheba and then attack the settlement of Beersheba. Since we have good odds for the auto-resolve, we can actually auto-resolve this battle on veteran battle difficulty. Even with low casualties, the auto-resolve could be quite punishing, so we're going to fight the battle manually. Always scout the battle map to find the best area to deploy your units so they can have the best advantage. I believe the most favorable position of the battlefield is actually going to be here. Similar to every other battle, in this difficulty the AI is going to sally out of their settlement, put all of the archers at the front line, with 1 Shardner Raider on each flank, have 2 shielded unit on each side of your archers, with the Magi Charger on the flank. Wait for them to come out of the settlement and try to shoot them as much as you can with your missile units. Stop the melee units from getting to your missile units. Try to stop their archers from shooting by attacking them with your melee units. As soon as their melee units are approaching your melee units, try to pull out, so their melee units are baited into chasing after your melee units, so your missile units have enough time and clear line of sight to shoot into the attacking enemy. And then as soon as their missile units are undefended, go and attack them, so at the very least you can stop them from shooting. Prioritize killing their lords, as you're going to kill 2 bears with 1 stone, eliminating 2 of their strongest units and also inflicting massive morale penalty to enemy forces. Order all of your melee units to attack the remaining portion of the enemy's force. Bring the archers closer so they can have a clear shot at the enemy archers. Both of the enemy lords are dead. You're getting negative 25 morale penalty. Order all of your archers to shoot at their archers. Try to dodge a shot of missile units with the Shadowrun Raider or any other unit that is being targeted to waste their ammo and also balance of power. And as they're wasting their ammo, we're shooting them with our own archers and army losses. We managed to wrap up this battle under 3 minutes with minimal casualties. Only 132 casualties, occupied for 2 population surplus. Ramesses has gained 2 levels and 2 skill points. We're gonna put 1 point into improving fortitude for extra battle loot and replenishment. Also, we're gonna unlock the Sandwalker which we're going to equip instead of Shield of Magi. We need that attrition immunity to desert regions, and also Desert Fighter for our light infantries. And as it happens, most of our army is consisted of light infantry. For your second skill point, you can basically put it into any of these competencies based on your preference, but personally I would want to put one more point into fortitude and get even more replenishment, because we want to get to that extra 3 mil defense as fast as possible. On our second lord, I'm going to improve our ardor for extra movement, upgrade the main building in Beersheba to level 2, bring this army to the Egyptian base station, interact with it for 30% extra movement, and bring it to the border just inside the Zati so you can recruit some extra units, get 2 Shardon Raiders. They're going to be tier 4 because of this guy having the first among Shardana. Try to interact with the Shrine of Ra for the extra 12% morale and damage resistance versus missiles, and bring them right over here so they can get to this border by next turn. As you guys can see, they have an army of 7 units right over here, and at this point there's a good chance they either have an army near Hazor or they're about to recruit one. And since we are playing in veteran or legendary difficulty campaign, they're going to recruit a lot of units in a turn or two. Don't build any buildings in these empty outpost sites because these guys are going to sack or raise it over the end turn. Recruit 2 Habitu militias in Ramesses' army. Despite being tier 1, low armor, low melee attack, these guys have good amount of armor piercing, 5 bonus versus shield, 12% melee lethality. They are also expendable and have vanguard deployment, and on top of that they are extremely cheap. So you're going to fill up your ranks with these guys as they're cheap and fairly effective early game. Their job is to engage with the enemy, stop them from getting to your elite units, absorb damage, and give your elite units more time and space to dish out a lot of damage and win you the battles. Equip the weapon on your third lord. Since these guys don't have that many units in their army, there's a really good chance that these guys are going to retreat back to their settlement of Hazor over the end turn. But there's also a chance that these guys are going to go up north if they had built any outpost before they lost the settlement. In this site, to just sack or raise that outpost, they're going back down south, just retreating to the settlement. By this point, if you have done everything I've done, your administration level is going to change from level 1 to level 2, which is going to increase your upkeep by a little bit, which is not going to be that big of a deal, but also is going to give you 6 extra growth, which is going to help out in developing your lands faster early on into the campaign. You have also finished researching the longer festivals. First, go for the experienced miners for the extra production of stone, and after that, the charm offensive is the one you have to go for. As you get bigger, you're going to get more diplomatic penalties with all factions, and the 5 extra diplomatic relationship with all factions from this technology is going to partially negate that. With Ramesses, interact with the Shrine of Ra for the extra morale and damage resistance versus missiles, and then put them into ambush stance and go as far as you can toward the settlement of Hazor, and bring your second army in front of Ramesses and start recruiting 2 Habitu militias. The reason we're doing all this is to bait the enemy armies into coming and attacking this army and then getting ambushed by Ramesses' army so we can completely crush them. If you want to do an all-out attack on the forces of the settlement, you're probably going to lose because in most cases they're going to build at least 1 military outpost in this region, which is going to give more units to the garrison of this settlement either directly or as reinforcements. By baiting their army over here, we can do divide and conquer, fight 2 different sections of their forces with our full might, and defeating both with absolute ease. On your third lord, which is still in your initial province, you can recruit 2 more units. I would recommend 2 Magi archers, but you can go with Shardon Raiders or Magi chargers. The reason I'm getting more Magi archers is because they don't need micromanagement, they have high range, and they have a lot of ammunition. For every battle, especially sieges, they're going to be super effective. We should build the cheapest outpost in this site, which happens to be the trading post, so we can have it ready by next turn by rush constructing it. And it's also going to give us the least amount of instant construction cost, so this guy can move over here, get 50% of the movement refunded, and from here get to Hazor, and then move them from there to Hazor to reinforce these 2 armies that are going to attack it next turn. In 90% of the situations, AI is actually going to be stupid enough to take the bait and come and attack this army to get ambushed by these guys. And even if you don't successfully ambush them, there's a good chance they're going to stay and fight. Upgrade the main settlement in Nakel to level 3, build up the woodcutting yard in Beersheba, and they have taken the bait and the enemy failed to spot your ambush, and we can easily auto-resolve this battle to wipe them out, although there is a chance that they're not going to get wiped, but I'm definitely going to auto-resolve this battle because the odds are just too good. Thankfully, all of them got wiped out. You can either take the replenishment or get the extra resources. I'm going to go with replenishment. Hope you're enjoying this, and if you are, please give it a like, and also let me know what you guys think about this in the comments down below. That's gonna help out the video big times. Based on the stats from YouTube, only 11% of you guys are subscribed. We're trying to get to 5,000 subs by the end of the year, so join the Legion of PZA Total War for more Warhammer 3 and Pharaoh content. Without further ado, let's just get to the rest of the video. By the start of this turn, you're gonna have the choice to choose an ambition. Try to get the one that suits you the best. Conquering an enemy provincial capital suits us the best, since we're going to finish off Beersheba in the provincial capital of Hazor, and that's going to give us 500 stones and 200 gold. Ramesses has gained an extra level, and we're going to put 1 more point into fortitude for replenishment, extra 3 mil defense, and more battle loot. Ramesses is going to attack the settlement of Hazor. In this case, there's a really great opportunity to get the enemies out of the settlement by attacking this army outside of the city. So let's bring in our other forces, give all the extra units to Ramesses, rush construct the trading post, bring your army to the trading post to get 50% of the movement refunded, and that's going to give you enough movement to actually get to here. Make sure your other forces are going to reinforce and then attack the army outside of the city, and you can easily auto-resolve this. And in this case, I would say auto-resolve if you have favorable odds. Since it's low casualties, I'm actually going to auto-resolve, so we don't have to fight the settlement battle. Unfortunately, we didn't get to wipe out everyone, but we did get a really favorable result. You can either take the replenishment or take the resources. Since we are in enemy territory, I'm going to take the replenishment to be at a better shape for the siege battle, so we can get to auto-resolve that battle as well. Besiege the settlement, build at least one siege equipment so you can actually initiate the attack next turn. Invest more into fortitude to get even more replenishment, more battle loot, and eventually 6 mil defense, 5% less fatigue buildup for all units in the army, and the ability shields up. And at level 8 we unlock another assigned title. You can get any of these bonuses. I would like to go for the Shield of Magi for the extra 8 mil defense for the Magi units. You can probably catch this enemy lord with one of your armies that has movement, auto resolve for the victory, take the replenishment, level up again, go back to the reinforcing range of Ramesses, upgrade the main building of Sukkot to level 2 for better growth and more resources and also better garrison. We were extremely lucky and we have gained 2 uncommon items. We're going to equip the Raptor bow on Ramesses and give the Magi bow to one of our other lords to make them an archer and more useful. Give the same guy the Rattle armor for more armor. Transfer all the units from your third army to Ramesses' armies. When you auto-resolve the battle against Hazor for more experience, you have 1 population surplus in the settlement of Beersheba and you're gaining 1 population surplus next turn. But there's a really neat trick that allows you to have more population surplus next turn. Build a building that requires 1 population surplus and takes 2 turns to finish building. We're gonna get 2 population surplus next turn from our growth, and by canceling this building next turn, we're gonna have 1 population surplus refunded, which is going to leave us with 3 population surplus for next turn in this province. The only way we're going to get stones early on is going to be through diplomacy, at least until we get our first stone mine in Deshred Wraithu, and at a later point Jaru. Always try to see which factions have the most amount of stones by going into single barter or barter agreement and checking how much stones exactly they have. The more stones they have, the less they value it and the better deals you can get out of them, especially the factions that are interested in the resources. You have a lot of like gold. Giving 10 gold and 9 bronze for 129 stones has to be a really great deal early on, which is going to allow you get enough stones to build up the buildings you need to build. Finish turn 5, put both of your additional armies into encamp stance for better stats, and then auto resolve the battle. Another decisive victory with minimal casualties and some resources. Occupy the settlement for 2 idle workforce. Faction of Beersheba is destroyed. By capturing that provincial capital, we actually achieved our ambition and got 500 stones and 200 gold as a reward. We have 4 population surplus. We can cancel the public order building to get an additional population surplus. Destroy all of the military buildings in the settlement of Hazor because we're fully focusing it on production of gold. Repair the gold mine, repair the tax collector's office, build up the commoner's graveyard for the extra happiness and influence. Influence in this province is really important. Low influence is going to give us a lot less gold from this province, so we have to increase our influence as fast as possible. Upgrade the main building to level 2, build up the winery for extra happiness, production and workforce growth. We have 1 more population surplus and we're going to do the same trick with the public order building. You gain additional workforce for next turn. Move 1 of your second armies to the Shrine of Ra, move them to the border and start recruiting 2 more Hebrew militias to fill out your ranks and have a better and bigger front line. Keep the other army in encamp stance, interact with the Shrine of Ra over here, and then move them as far as I can toward the border. Ramesses doesn't have any more movement after capturing the settlement, and that is actually fine because his army needs the extra replenishment from being inside the settlement. Go 40 people commandment in the Sinai province for the extra influence and also workforce growth. Build a fig farm in Nebgehez for extra food, happiness, and influence. Build a public order building in Azati for the extra population surplus trick. If you have built all the Shrines of Ra in all of your settlements, you should have gotten to 300 favor with Ra. That's gonna get you to tier 2 with him, which is going to give you extra bonuses for the shrine effects, prayer effect. We can also devote 1 general to Ra for extra 12% melee attack and 18% melee damage for melee infantry of his army. We're going to devote Ramesses. Your next 2 objectives are Timna and Hetch, which happen to be defensive allies. So if you attack one of them, the other one is going to join war against you. Get more favorable trade deals that give you stones. Ramesses has gained another level and we're gonna put 1 more point into Ardor so we can eventually get to that 5% extra speed and extra for charge bonus for all of his units in the army. Also the ability charge. Move the army that recruited the units in encamp stance as far as you can toward the settlement of Timna. Move the other army in encamp stance to the border and recruit 2 more units on them. Either get Habiru militias or Habiru archers. I'm gonna go with 2 Habiru archers. Move Ramesses to the Egyptian base station for extra 30% movement since his extra movement bonus should have already run out by the start of this turn. And then move him to the Shrine of Ra to refund 50% of the movement. From there, give all the units that are damaged to your second army recruiting on the border so they can still have some replenishment replenishment over the end turn, and then move Ramesses in force march as far as you can in the reinforcing range of your other army in encamp stance in the enemy's region. Next turn, we're going to declare war at Timna and attack them and finish them off in one go. Upgrade the main building in Beersheba to level 3. Let's actually keep the public order building to maintain the public order in this province, as it's not actually ideal at the moment and it's only going to get worse. We have gotten super unlucky and Peleset has already showed up on our borders, but don't worry, because the chances of this happening in your campaign are very slim. On the off chance of them coming here this early and potentially attacking you over the end turn, you would want to build up the defenses of your settlement as high and as fast as you can, because if you have better defenses in your settlements, there is a lower chance that these guys are going to attack you sooner since they don't have a big force themselves. So if they see your settlements are well defended, they're going to mind their business and go attack the factions that are already at war with them. So in my opinion, build up the garrison building in the settlement of Azati, since it's your closest settlement to their force, and rush construct it for the extra 4 units. I know it's expensive, but definitely worth it. Next turn, we want to build up the Bronze Workers District, which requires 5 population surplus. At the moment, we have 2 population surplus and getting 1 next turn. If we build up 2 public order buildings in Azati and Nakel, that is going to ensure that we're going to get 3 population surplus next turn, and we can cancel these 2 buildings for additional 2 population surplus, which is going to get us to 5 population surplus, and that will allow us to build up the Bronze Workers District as long as we have the resources. By building this building, you will produce more bronze, which is going to allow you to field more elite units in your armies. All your mid and high tier units have recruitment costs and upkeep of bronze. With the new surplus of gold we're getting from the settlement of Hazor, we can trade that gold with resources that we lack, like stones and food, very easily and without too many setbacks. You can also join war against the enemies of Setnakta, Tehenu for around 100 stones for 5 turns. Thankfully, Peleset didn't attack us over the end turn, but he might actually attack you if he comes down this early and you don't have enough forces in your settlements to defend them. So always be mindful of that. Get Ramesses out of force march, declare war at Timna. Their allies are going to join against us. Attack the settlement, encircle, bring the other army to reinforce Ramesses in encamp stance, bring the army on the border to actually sack or raise this outpost. I'm going to raise for the stones to deny their settlement of 3 extra units from that outpost, and then force march that army into Ramesses' army. Give Ramesses the high tier and elite units. Usually this faction doesn't recruit that many units if you attack them by turn 8, so you should have a really good auto resolve if you have done everything I've done so far, and you can actually auto resolve this because of the good odds. If you don't have a good balance of power, you can actually manually fight this battle using all the tactics that I've shown you so far. You should be able to get a clean victory out of this. So let's just auto resolve. We lost 1/5 of our army, but that's completely fine because we can replenish most of these guys over the end turn, occupy the settlement for 2 more population surplus, level up your characters, getting fortitude so we can actually give him the sandwalker for the attrition immunity of desert regions. Do the same exact thing for the other guy. Build the shrine of Ra in the outpost that you raised earlier. We can easily replenish most of these guys over the end turn. Get rid of the growth building, repair the public order and also the bronze building for more production of bronze. Get the reinforcing army that is in encamp stance out of it, and then give their units to the other army so we can disband this army. Recruit a new lord in Nebgehes. Since this guy has 3 presents, give him the shield of Magi because we're going to recruit some Magi units. Also upgrade this guy's ardor for extra movement. If we cancel these public order buildings, that is going to get us to 5 population surplus, which allows us to either build up the Bronze Workers District or upgrade the Magi barracks, which is going to give us one of the best units Ramesses can get early on, and that is the elite Magi archers, which have 190 range, great missile damage, encourage effect, which is going to buff up the morale of nearby forces, and also discipline, so they're not going to have any morale penalty when a general dies. And on top of that, they come with 2 different abilities, rapid fire and aim true. They come with good melee stats, which allows them to defend themselves and hold their ground against the attacks of melee infantry for some short period of time. They come with small shields, which is a big upgrade compared to your other archers because of that 30% missile block chance from the missile fires hitting them from the front. And we can also get the elite Magi warriors, which are insanely good units. The only downside to them is that they cost gold upkeep. In my opinion, build up the Magi barracks, build up another public order building so we can cancel next turn for more population surplus, build up the Temple of Ra in Hathor, cancel that next turn to get to 4 population surplus so we can upgrade this to level 3. Recruit 2 Hibiru militias. If you're not doing good in terms of food income, you should make more trade deals to actually get more food. You can do this trade deal with Peleset because they do have a lot of food by this point in their treasury, so they don't value it too much, and you can make a really favorable trade deal with these guys for 10 turns. And that is also going to buff up your relationship with him, which is going to lower the chances of him attacking you in the next 10 turns. After making the trade deal, we're going to make negative 911 food per turn. Try my hardest in not actually making 911 jokes since they tend to be explosive. Oopsies! If you want, you can make more trade deals to get more food, but as long as we're fighting battles every couple turns, we should be good in terms of food. Build 1 Egyptian fort in this outpost to actually defend Sukkot from possible incursions from PHARAOH, High Ramesses, or any other faction that might attack it at a later point into this campaign. At the start of this turn, you have a chance of getting a new ambition. You can pick either one of these, but I'm going to go with the middle one since Hetch actually has a food region that we're going to conquer off of them. Hetch is already sending a force to attack Nebgehes, but since Nebgehes does have walls and also a good garrison, we should be good. Rush construct construct a shrine in Timna, move Ramesses to the newly built Shrine of Ra in Timna to refund 50% of the movement, put Ramesses in force march and then move him to the Shrine of Ra near Nakel to refund 50% of the movement again, move the army inside Nebuchadnezzar outside of the city, and then go into ambush stance. You can check the ambush success chance by hovering over the region. In this case, we have 40% ambush success chance. Move Ramesses inside the settlement of Nebuchadnezzar. Your second army is going to interact with the Egyptian base station for 30% extra movement and also refund 50% of the movement. Then interact with the Shrine of Ra near it to refund 50% more movement, and then force march toward the settlement of Nebuchadnezzar. Upgrade the main settlement building in Timna to level 3. Cancel the Temple of Ra in Hazor for extra 2 population surplus. Upgrade the main building of this settlement to level 3. We have 1 more idle workforce. We should build a building that takes at least 2 turns to build so we can cancel next turn. Cancel the public order building in Azati. Now upgrade the main building in Azati to level 3 and rebuild a public order building so we can cancel next turn. At the start of turn 9, we have unlocked the path to power. You should select the royal tradition to follow. I'm going to go with the Egyptian royal tradition since we already control at least 1 sacred Egyptian land. So you're going to unlock the power of the crown of the Egyptian court, which is a mechanic which you can eventually use to become the pharaoh. We can also choose our ancient legacy between these 4. My favorite is Akhenaten the Heretic, which allows you to merge 2 different gods and all of the bonuses. The merchant is also very powerful in the early game. You can also go with this one, but I'm going to go with the Akhenaten the Heretic. Bear in mind that when you choose one of these ancient legacies, your choice is permanent and you cannot choose a different ancient legacy at a later point into your campaign. With every god, you can go up to 3 levels of favor, but Akhenaten actually goes up to 7 tiers and give you a lot more amazing bonuses. You have also joined the Egyptian court, and you start every turn with 2 available court actions, courtesy of your faction effect. You can claim one of these positions. The best one has to be the Viceroy of Kush because of the income of gold, and each of these positions also give you additional legitimacy on top of other positional benefits. For the time being, we're only going to gossip with different characters to actually build up our guards, which is going to allow us to make different requests and also perform our plots a lot more easier. Also gossip with the treasurer. These guys only sack the base station and are standing near it, so there's a prime opportunity to go and attack them. Force march the second army to the zone of influence of the enemy, bring in the other army to reinforce, and attack the enemy's army with Ramesses. They're going to stay and fight. You can auto-resolve because the odds are absolutely amazing, or you can actually fight the battle manually for optimal result. I'm going to auto-resolve to save time. 342 losses, just because the food situation is a little bit tight. We're going to get that extra food, level up your characters, 1 point into presence for this guy for the extra 13 armor for shielded infantry units, 1 more point into order for the other dude for extra movement. Force march your third army as far as they can toward the settlement of Hetch. Put Ramesses into ambush and then move them as far as they can in the zone of influence of your second army. Give the 2 units from your third army to your second army because the second army's lords has the Sandwalker, which gives attrition immunity for desert condition for this army's units. Move our third lord in the zone of influence of Ramesses in a place he doesn't take any attrition. Check the strength ranking of Hetch, being the 99th strongest faction in game when we have around 140 factions, suggests that they have at least 1 full stack which has to be hiding somewhere around here. Cancel the public order building, cancel this building in Hazor to refund the resources, build up the gold mine to level 2, and also build up the warrior cemetery for the extra happiness and influence in this province and also adjacent provinces. Upgrade the main building in Sukkot to level 3 for better garrison. We need to repair the Egyptian base station to get that attrition immunity for desert condition for armies in this region, and since we don't have enough resources, we gotta trade for it, recruit a new lord in one of your settlements, and then we're gonna force inheritance the faction of Setnakta. By the way, look at the clone Ramesses, and we're gonna offer this new guy that we just recruited to him, and that is going to give us 14 positive diplomatic opinion. In return, get the resources you need in a single barter and a barter agreement, repair the base station in Nebuchadnezzar, keep gossiping with the Viceroy of Kush and another person, and also get a separate barter agreement with Setnakta for more stones. Hetch uses other army to sack the Shrine of Ra in Timna. Now we're going to go and besiege Hetch with Ramesses, a great opportunity to bring out the garrison of Hetch and defeat them outside of the city. Bring your second army to the edge of influence zone of the enemy's army. Make sure your 2 other armies are going to reinforce and then attack the army outside the settlement. They might stay and fight or they might run away, which they did. In this case, Hetch actually has 2 armies around here with a total of 26 units. Besiege the settlement of Hetch and build up any siege equipment so you can attack it next turn. Put one of your armies in ambush and then bring them to the back of Ramesses. Bring the other army in their influence zone of Ramesses. Construct the Temple of Ra in the settlement of Hazor. Build up the growth building in Azati and Nakel because it happens to be the cheapest one, and we can cancel it next turn to get extra population surplus. Enemies already should have a lot of units in the garrison of the settlement and also 2 armies up there that are going to come and attack us over the end turn. To increase the chances of winning this battle, we have to recruit 1 Magi Charger and 1 Magi Archer from the trained Magi, one of Ramesses' faction mechanics. That is going to cost us some food and bronze, but we're going to be okay. We're still going to have 4 more turns worth of food in our treasury, which means we're not going to suffer any attrition. You have to gossip one more time with Ramesses, the Viceroy of Kush, and gossip with the only guide that you haven't gossiped yet. 2 of our great barters have expired over the end turn with the faction of Setnakta, so we can set up new favorable barters with this faction again. As I said they would, they brought their additional armies to reinforce the settlement garrison to attack us. With a superior force, at least quantity-wise over the end turn, you absolutely shouldn't auto-resolve this battle because it's only giving you Cadmean victory and you're going to have a lot of losses. Fight this battle manually, but don't control large armies because they do have more reinforcements than you do. they're going to have more of their units stay out of the battle. That's going to give you an advantage over them because your units are supposed to be higher tier and higher level than these guys. So you should be able to get a good victory out of this. We're going to advance our forces toward the enemy, take our positions on this favorable terrain, put the archers at the back on the elevation and the melee units at the front so the archers can have better line of sight. Go as wide as you can with your melee units, use your shutdown radius to shoot javelins at the incoming enemy, and since they cause fear they can break them very easily. Use your archers to shoot the enemy archers and stop them from shooting at your forces. Use the shutdown raiders on the left flank to shoot javelins into the enemies. By this point into the battle, the enemy's initial force is going to be devastated. Keep an eye out on your units that are getting targeted by the enemy missiles, and if they're taking too much damage, retreat them to the back of your lines so they don't get wiped out. Protect your missile units and try to keep them out of melee combat at all times, at least until their ammunition is finished. Use your missile units to finish off the enemy lords, to inflict heavy morale penalty to the enemy forces. Try to flank with your javelins and shoot into the back of the enemies that are already engaged with your melee forces. You should chase after the fleeing enemies and stop them from rallying back. Stop their undefended archers from shooting at your forces by ordering one of your units to go after them. Try to push for the reinforcement zone so you can attack and break the enemies as soon as they arrive to the battlefield. Keep chasing after enemy forces that are running away. Don't run after the ones that are already shattered, only the ones that are broken. From this time forward, you're always going to have advantage of number over the enemy. Try to break them before more of their units show up. Shoot the newly arrived enemy reinforcements that are attacking your forces with your archers from the side and the back if possible to inflict more damage. Try to overwhelm the enemy by surrounding them from all sides to break their morale even faster and easier. And army losses, try to chase after all the enemy units and kill as many forces as you can so you can face less enemies and get a better auto resolve next turn. We managed to take the W with minimal casualties. Unfortunately, I forgot to record a post battle. We got a close victory with 335 casualties, and we also took the replenishment to be at a better shape for this turn because we were in enemy territory over the end turn. Should be able to auto resolve this even with a close victory, but you can fight the battle if you would want to for the better result. But since we're not going to fight any more battles in the next few turns, we should be good to auto resolve. Around 600 casualties, which we can recover in a turn or two. Good amount of battle loot. Occupy the settlement for 2 idle workforce. We fulfilled our ambition and gained 2,000 food as a reward. Level up your characters, give more orders to this guy for extra movement, and then give away his units to your second army. Force march him to Destroyed Wraithu so we can colonize it. Repair the food building, get rid of the recruitment hall. For the time being, we can actually keep the healing hall for that extra replenishment, and we can demolish it next turn. Build up the wood cutting yard, build up the commoner's graveyard for the extra happiness and influence. Build up the growth building in Timna so we can cancel it next turn and get more population surplus. Give Ramesses another point into fortitude for better replenishment and battle loot. Give the damage measure charger in this army to Ramesses' army so he can get some more replenishment. Demolish all 3 outposts in Hetch. If the vacation in Timna is damaged, we can demolish it now since we don't have any further use for it. Cancel the growth buildings you're building in Akela and Nazati to refund the idle workforce and the resources. That is going to give you enough population surplus and resources to build the bronze workers district. Start threatening Ramesses, the viceroy of Kush. We're going to reap the profit from the mines using the 60 regard that we have with Ramesses to gain 200 extra golds. If Hetch still has any standing armies, you can probably get a peace treaty out of them. Try to get as much resources as you can from them. Since they don't control any regions, they're going to take constant attrition until they die, and there's a really low chance they can capture any settlement with only 6 units. So their faction is essentially dead now. By turn 12, there's a really good chance that you're already in the crisis era and you're going to get negative 10% morale and replenishment debuff faction wide. So try to stack up as much replenishment bonuses as you can for your armies to compensate for all of these debuffs. More of our barter agreements have ended over the end turn, so we should renew some of these barter agreements. So try to get some new ones. Find the faction with most amount of stones and then trade another resource for that stone that you need from them. Since we have good production of gold and also gold being their preferred resource, you can trade 25 gold per turn for 210 stones. But in your campaign, the preferred resources of the faction you're trading with could be different. Do some more trade to get more stones. At the moment, legitimacy support is bugged. This is a reasonable diplomatic opinion, but the more you demand, the more diplomatic opinion you're going to get. And if they have high enough legitimacy, you can get insane amount of positive diplomatic opinion, which you're going to use to get some resources out of them. In this guide, we have dealt with every challenge and enemy we had in the early game. With everything I showed and thought, you should be in good hands to continue and thrive in this campaign from this point forward. But don't worry, because I'm going to give you some general advice on the Civil War and the mid game to help you out even further. Civil War usually triggers whenever there's a pretender that has around the same or more legitimacy than the pharaoh. Then they can start the Civil War, and each pretender joining the Civil War is going to add to the period of it. And we usually have anywhere between 3 to 6 more pretenders join the Civil War, which is going to be 9 to 18 more turns added to the period of Civil War. So never feel pressure to join the Civil War as soon as it starts. Allow more pretenders to rise so the forces of Pharaoh and their vassals can get occupied dealing with the pretenders, which is gonna leave their settlements on your borders fairly undefended. So we can attack it at some point later into the campaign and don't face too much resistance. As we occupy their cities one by one, you can build up your legitimacy by fighting battles, building 1 monument per province, and each one of them is going to give you 3 legitimacy. And there's also other unique buildings that give you legitimacy. Don't forget the discredit court action, which is going to steal legitimacy from the contenders of the crown. So until the time comes for us to join the Civil War, we can focus our attention on these Canaanite regions, these 3 provinces are going to provide us every resource we need to develop and maintain our great empire. Lower Egypt has tons of food settlements, and capturing them as soon as you join the civil war is absolutely vital because they're going to provide you with a lot of food that is essentially going to solve your food problem and allow you to field even more armies to dominate your campaign. You're going to get court dilemmas every couple of turns, and some of these court dilemmas are absolutely amazing. This one wants us to cancel our threat and plot against Viceroy of Kush. It's going to give us 60 regards with him and also 100 gold, which is definitely worth it, because what we can do is we can just go back and start a brand new threat and plot against him right away. And this time we can undermine him right away for 30 regards to increase our plot level by 2 levels, and that has already increased our success chance from 35% to 65%. So don't just accept any dilemma, but only accept the best ones like this one. In your mid to late campaign, always prioritize going for the pillars of civilization, as they have special buildings that are going to give you provincial and faction-wide bonuses. The more developed and higher tier these settlements get, the more civilization points you're going to get from them, which is going to help with keeping the civilization era at the prosperity level. Replace all of your major archers with elite major archers. They only cost around 30 more food upkeep and 2 more bronze upkeep at this level of administration because they have more range, more lethality, and a lot more bonuses compared to your normal major archers. And do not get too many elite units that are tier 5 or above because these guys cost gold, and gold is really valuable since you're going to trade it with other resources. You also need gold to upgrade your higher tier buildings. So never recruit too many units that have gold as recruitment cost and also upkeep cost until you have sufficient amount of gold production. Another elite advice I have for you guys to keep using is to get population surplus faster by building a building, waiting a turn, so you get more population surplus over the end turn because of your growth, and then canceling that building to get back the population surplus you used to build that building in the previous turn. Another bonus of going with Akhenaten the Heretic is being able to capture the settlement of Akhenaten, which has 2 special buildings, and both of these buildings are absolutely amazing. And these are the bonuses I'm getting from Akhenaten. I've mixed up Set and Apollo, which are going to give me the best bonuses for missile infantry units, and you can get up to 5 extra blessings in this new religion if you're at level 7. I hope you guys enjoyed, and if you guys did, please like this video and also let me know what you guys think about this guy in the comments down below, as that really helps the channel. Don't forget to subscribe for more Warhammer 3 and Pharaoh content. If you want to know the top 10 things I wish I knew earlier before mastering Warhammer 3, you can click on this video. This is PZA Total War, and I'm gonna see you guys later.